If you're doing everything yourself, you're not building, you're just surviving. Let that sink in. What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG.
And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our future content. Our podcast is for those who want to go beyond the grind. My name is Kay.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Tosin.
Now, today's episode is actually the start of a special 3-part series where we're going to be diving into learning to delegate and trust in the process. Now, each week, we're going to be interviewing one of us to get our own different perspective, right? And today, we're going to start with Tosin.
That's the T.
He's going to be sharing from his lens, how he's learned to let go and delegate effectively, right? So, Tosin, we're going to kick it right off. Can you just kind of take us back into, your journey from day one when you realize, the importance of just letting go and, delegating effectively? Like what was happening around that time and what made you decide that was something that was important?
I think I've always had the mindset to delegate because growing up, I played a lot of team sports, right? And in that part, my mindset was like, you've got to trust each person that you're playing with, right? Whether it's a soccer team, basketball team, everybody's got to, like they say, do their job, right?
Do your job.
Do your job.
Or else it's going to turn into, I don't know if you guys have gone to any of your kids' soccer games, but it goes like when there's a ball, all of them go to the ball and like everybody, you're not really delegating and staying in your positions and so on and so forth, right? So growing up, we were playing a lot of team sports, so it just became kind of natural. And I think that led into the business world because I already knew when I wanted to start a business, I wanted to scale.
Okay.
I knew that it wasn't going to be a one-person show. I'm not going to be that solopreneur. So
Why? Why not? I mean, what made you want to, you know what I mean?
I guess
some people don't.
I'm a big believer of the saying, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a team. That's always been my mindset.
Okay.
So I'm like, no, I want to go far rather than fast. I want to build something that possibly will even end up being some kind of legacy, something where we would impact not just the clients that we work with, but the staff, anyone that comes through, they would have a different experience from ever working with anybody else. Right. So all of those different things, I knew that it can't just be me.
Yeah.
It can't rely on me because then we won't be able to go as far as I was looking to go.
But I want to own in on that question even more specifically. Like, what was that moment? Like, what was the aha? You know what? I can't do it all myself, right? I'm sure you got a story that you want to share with our audience. Can you remember a time in the past? It could be when you were in school. It could be when you started business. What was that moment like?
I don't think I have that moment. I'm really trying to think about it. Maybe it's my personality.
Okay.
Right. Even when I was starting the business, I was doing it part-time, right? I had a full-time job and I was doing it on the side. Okay. Even while I was doing it on the side, I was like getting my younger brother, my older brother, my cousin, everybody was at my sister who was going to med school was even helping me do some accounting while I was doing it on the side. So I already had that mindset. I'm like, I just need to be able to work with good people to be able to replicate what I do so that we can go far.
So then, with that being said, with your delegation, where do you start and where does your team begin? Does that make sense?
No,
where is it that you let go? Like, when do you decide, okay, I should let go at this moment? And when do you decide I trust them? Because there's a love-hate. It's like, it takes a lot for you to be like, what made you open your hand? Because you didn't immediately delegate, right?
No,
you're still overseeing.
Oh, well, yes.
But with true delegation, you just want to check in. You're not looking over their shoulder. So when did you decide, like, I really have to really trust them and let go? What was that turning point, and what made you decide that?
I would say
yesterday.
No, my team will be like, this guy is really hands off. You know, I would definitely have to say it's really at the beginning when we started doing, like, when I bought my first business, right? When we bought the first CPA firm, it came with a few employees. However, this time I didn't know the clients, right? We had acquired this group of clients.
How long into you being a business owner was this?
That was about 4 years. So
that's a long time.
2020 to 24. Yeah, we started looking.
So you didn't trust them for 4 years?
3 years. No, I was on my own. I was doing it part-time before I acquired the first business. That's when I now jumped out into full-time entrepreneurship. Right. So, before then, I was the one that had closed all the clients. I had a relationship with all the clients. So I kind of know them in and out. Right. So I would know if you're doing something wrong, I can review it and see it and so on and so forth. But now when I acquired this group of clients, the staff knew them better than I did. So now I was like, okay, maybe it's more about processes rather than being kind of like micromanaging these folks because they know the work more than I do.
Did it pay off?
They've been doing it. Yeah.
Did it pay off?
It did.
Did they fall a lot?
Well, I mean, my mindset is always going to be if they can do it 80% as well as I can do it, then even me, I don't bat 100%.
Right.
Right. I still make some mistakes.
Looks like you need practice, my friend.
Maybe, you know, but if I'm okay with myself sometimes making mistakes, I have to be okay with the team also making mistakes.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, how do you decide what to delegate versus what to keep with you, especially when the stakes are high and you know, like, okay, you know what? This thing is very critical, right? Because it's easy to say that you got to delegate certain things, but then there's also a thing of trust in the process, right?
Yeah.
So can you kind of share your thought process and how you kind of make that decision when it comes to, you know, what stays with you versus what you delegate while stakes are high?
Now, I can only speak for myself.
I mean, you are speaking from your own lens here.
From my own lens. In business, I don't think there's anything that I must have control of. It takes me back to a few years ago, maybe 2 now. I handed off the finances to our CFO, Angela.
Okay.
She does she runs the payroll, she pays the bills, she makes sure there's money.
For your business.
For
not for the,
Shout out to Angela.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
she's a real one.
before I would have been like, I've got to be the one to do that. I got to see everything. I've got to pay everybody. I've got to do it. I've got to, but looking at it, if I didn't delegate that completely off to her, I wouldn't have time to do some of the things I'm doing today. So we have to be careful in really having that mindset to saying that, hey, I must keep XYZ or these few tasks because we have examples, in big corporations. We were talking before we started shooting, we were talking about Amazon, where Jeff Bezos, pulled back and said, hey, I'm going to bring in a CEO and they're going to run it day to day. I just want to go out and enjoy on my $500 million yacht, right? Hey, but I said that because he's able to step back in something that has the majority of his net worth. If he's able to do that, I mean, what are we holding on so tight, dearly to?
Yeah.
Right. We have to have a mindset that we aren't the only people that have these smarts to get XYZ done.
Right.
If not, you're only going to limit the growth that you're able to accomplish.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. And, it's funny you mentioned how before you had the mindset that it got to be me, until you kind of let Angela be the one you just take over all the financial aspect of the business. And that takes a lot of trust, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when folks don't delegate, I don't think it's because of the fact that they don't believe in delegation. I think trust also play a role. So for you, what does that look like? Is it, how do you build that trust for you to get comfortable enough to say, you know what, I'm going to delegate XYZ to this individual?
it's all based on who you are hiring. If you are not able to trust that person, then you probably have a hiring problem. If you're not able to delegate to the people that you have working for you, you probably have a hiring problem, right? Because look, right, everybody that's going to come to an interview. I love this because I talk to my wife about this all the time. She's hiring. She just hired a new manager and all that stuff. But she's like, man, everybody that shows up, they're just packaging. And she's like, everybody is faking it till you make it. All right. So you've got to make sure that it's not just about, the glitz and the glamour of when you're interviewing somebody. They're able to sell you on all they can do and all that stuff. If they can't do it practically when it comes down to it, if they can't do the job, you need to find somebody else. So I think, we talk about trust, but is it trust in who the person is or in the person's ability? If it's that person's ability, then, this is a business. We've got to find the right people in the right bus seats, as they say.
So what I'm understanding is that trust actually is not something that is contemplated on because that has already been sorted from the beginning, from day one during the interview process.
Yes. Or during the vetting process, right? Some people are like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you 3 months. I'm going to test you out for 3 months and make sure it's right. If you're hiring for a position that you want to delegate to, they've got to be able to hold their own.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no. I had a question, but I lost it. I was listening to your story, so
I know worries.
Taking mental notes.
I got more. Even on that same topic,
giving us gems
to get emotional about the people that we have working for us.
Yes,
that's one thing I agree.
We also talked about here, what got you here will get you there, right? It's a popular book, it's a popular saying, right? So we always, as business owners, yes, that person was able to do it at such and such point, but today.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me because it's hard for me to kind of draw the line as far as decide, okay, this person wanted this responsibility. They talked a good game. They're not doing any of it. And, but then people appeal to your emotional side and they're nice to you and they're kind and it's unfortunate, but sometimes as a business owner, you have to separate, okay, you're a great person. Doesn't mean you're the person for this position or to be delegated this role. You may fit somewhere else in our company or you may not fit in this company at all. Doesn't take away from the fact that you're great and you may fit somewhere else. But it is difficult as a business owner to just decide, okay, this is not working. That's the tough issue. And it's also tough to delegate and keep them accountable because you want to be the nice and the good guy, but the only person who's eating the L is you. You have to hold the book. You have to hold the checkbook. You have to hold all the losses and all the debt and all that. And, the niceties isn't going to keep the lights on. And at the end of the day, if you do close as a business because you're a nice person, everyone's going to go get a job.
Yeah.
You're going to go get another job somewhere else. So, except for you. So you do have to, and it's difficult for me sometimes to make those decisions, but I have to for me, I know it's about you, but I've learned to kind of make these objective conversations between you and them and have them set up their own metrics and this is what I want. How long do you think before you can achieve this? Yeah. And whatever they say, I give them more time than they think they can achieve it by. And if this doesn't happen, what do you think? And I give them more rope than that. So if those criteria that they've set for themselves, plus my leeway, aren't met, then it's well, we've had this conversation, so we're here. So now it's more objective rather than just how I feel, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
What I would say, two things I would say about that for those business owners that are also in the same issue. One is, like you said, be transparent with that employee, right? Have check-ins, have goals that they set. Two, I was actually having a call. One recruiter, he always calls me. He's a nice guy. We always chat it up. And he said, hey, if you needed me to recruit away one of your staff just let me know. I was like, what?
That's a good way to put it.
think about that. So like you might be like, man, I can't let go of this person. Like, just call him up.
Yeah.
He'll headhunt them for you. I didn't know it too.
I didn't even know.
I was like, wait. So
the game is chess, not checkers.
Now you go back and like, wait. Did that job come to me because,
or did they fire me and headhunt me?
If I was in that situation, I wouldn't even care because in my
it was better off. Yeah, you're in a place that works. You're in a place that works for you, right? You don't need to make yourself fit in every spot where you don't fit. Yeah. So go where you're celebrated, right?
Now, Tosin, you mentioned how when it comes to trusting, that has to be sorted from the hiring process, right? But then you also mentioned that even you don't bet 100%, that's right? So there are going to be scenarios and situations where you're going to delegate and the person is going to disappoint. Right. Can you kind of talk about what trust in a process means to you? And at what point do you say, you know what, it's not cutting it?
Trust in the process to me means I need to be willing to lose money on this thing. That's just it. I mean, in our business, it'll just come down to cash.
Even if the stakes are high.
Even if the stakes are high.
Okay.
They also have to understand, well, I mean, the people that you trust, right? There are different levels of trust that you have. If it's something that is going to be extreme stakes, it's not everybody. I mean, I trust those that are working on XYZ, but maybe on this one, it's high stakes. Maybe it's just very few people. Okay. Just 2 people or just 1 person.
Okay. I just want to clarify.
I want him to finish the thought process. You were saying that the trust there's levels to it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's something that's high stakes, I'm not going to put someone that I trust with little to handle much.
So this was piggybacking on that to expand on that question. Okay. What do they do to earn this trust? Like, how do I fall into the top level trust? Oh yeah, I trust you. Nah, you move aside. Like, how have they proven themselves to you? Are you starting little, or are you like, this person looks trustworthy. He's on this level already in the company. Let me give him some big stuff starting off. Or do you give everyone the same little work and see who does it,
interesting,
effortlessly versus who struggled in it?
I definitely don't give everybody the same.
Yeah, but right off the bat, like you acquired a new company, you had people who were at different levels, right? They're not all the same levels. Who do you, like, how do you say like, I trust this person automatically?
If you were to ask my team, they'll be like, Tosin's a big pusher. He believes in each of us can do way, way more, and we're way smarter than him.
And then if they really say the opposite, no, I'm just kidding.
No bonus. No, but what do you call it? It's, you already know in the people, like there's this one firm that we acquired. One of the ladies that came on board, she was a CPA. However, her role wasn't at the level of a CPA. I was like, you're extremely smart. You're, she had all of the qualifications, she had about 5 years of experience by the time I had met her, and she was still doing data entry stuff, like in the back room somewhere. I'm like, no, come up here. We make you a senior manager. We're going to put your face up. You a CPA. We're going to put that nice and bright. All right. So I had to force her into that limelight. She wasn't used to it, but I knew she could handle it.
Yeah, but where I was going is when things are not going the way they're meant to go. So for example, as I said, you trust somebody to handle something and it doesn't go the way it's meant to go. Do you lose that trust? Like what, like how, like
I was still getting there with the same person, right? So, the way we do it she's one of our accounting and tax managers. Okay. So she has about, maybe let's call it 350 clients that she works on.
Just that.
Right.
This year.
So as soon as she got that responsibility, she lost some clients. Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
To
I mean,
learn.
like, you know, what do they say? That person that, hey, I lost you $100,000. It was $100,000 lesson learned, right? You don't want
Fear of
somebody
failure.
to be able to capture their learnings from their own failures.
Yes.
No. Let's feel together. Hey, you know what? If you lose some clients, that's okay.
Okay.
There'll be more clients. We learn from it. We know how to do better.
Okay.
Right. I think if your business, I called it something, this past, a couple of days ago, but let's just use bandwidth. Okay. If your business is not able to absorb those types of losses by trusting people, you won't trust people. I mean, like it's just in the nature of the setup.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
If your business is, I'm trying to look for an example here, you know, let's say, you rent out cars. Oh no, you have a car service, right? You only have one car. And this person comes to you and says, yeah, I've been driving. I've been doing this. I'm the best driver ever. And this is your only way to make income. And you're like, okay, because I want to scale, I want to put someone in this car and then I'm going to work my way to getting a second car. Well, if that person gets into an accident with your single car, it's very hard. So at that point, you probably won't let a driver drive it. However, if you had a second car and you were able to interview somebody and you vet them properly and so on and so forth, you say, okay, let's do a 3-month trial and see how you do in the second car. You know, that example is kind of just, I'm just.
You have to have enough.
Yeah, you've got to have
It has to make sense.
You've got to have enough
Yeah.
bandwidth to be able to take some of those losses. And if you don't, please don't try it and blame me. Okay?
Well, and that's actually leading to my next question because, you know, obviously I'm a very practical guy. A lot of our audience, they like it when we're practical as well. There's going to be somebody out there watching who's probably a solopreneur or a solo founder, and they haven't gotten to that stage yet where they trust enough to delegate because everything is high stake.
Yeah.
I remember you talked about how there was a point in time where you wanted to do everything yourself. And I guess maybe you got burnt out and you realized, you know what? You're not the best at everything and you need to start delegating. What advice would you give to that person who's watching, who is a solopreneur, who is a solo founder that needs to get to that space or that mindset of understanding the importance of delegating and trusting the process?
I would say maybe 2 things. First things first, I wouldn't even start that way. Start with the mindset that you need other people. Right. If you feel like you can take it on and then later you're trying to convert your mindset to, wait, I'm going to delegate. It's very, very hard because you're going to be measuring every single person at your level. You're going to be measuring their effort. You're going to be measuring, you know, everything that they do, everything they bring to the table, everything they're saying, you know, hey, are they showing up, you know, at crack of dawn? Are they sleeping in the office like I am sleeping? And so you're going to be measuring them to yourself the whole time. Wow. You might not even be the bar. Other people might be just as smart or way smarter than you.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll first start off with the mindset. Anytime even if it's, I need to start it as a solopreneur, have a mindset that, hey, at some point I'm going to have somebody else that's going to come in. At some point, just have that in the back of your mind. And I think it makes delegating easier.
Yeah.
Right. If you kind of start that as part of your foundation.
Yeah.
Second, you really, 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 really have to evaluate what you think that mission critical thing is, because once you achieve that, there's another one.
Yeah.
Then there's another one. There's always another one. So was it really?
Yeah.
You know, that's something I asked myself. Like I thought, you know, in my example, I thought I have to be able to see all the dimes coming in and out of the business and so on and so forth. And once I let it go, I'm like, yeah, we have enough cash for payroll. You know, that's about it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Feels better.
Yeah.
Feels
It's
better.
like what I thought was really, really important actually gave me more space to be able to do other things.
Yeah. And I'll even add to that. I think once you've been able to identify your North Star matrix, just focus on that and everything else. It's like, hey, you just trust the people. But really good point, Close us out, Al.
Yeah, let's go ahead and close. Yeah, so today, you know, we talked about delegation, and we're having our series, 3-part series, where we get to interview each one of us, and so you can get a perspective of how we came about that, how we handle it. Tosin was kind enough to share with us all of his thoughts and processes, and talk about his team and how great they are.
They are.
You know, like, you're welcome for that, team. And we appreciate it. Seriously. It was a lot of gems. Y'all heard me silent for first time in a while because I was trying to incorporate some of that. I was just thinking, I took some notes even as he was talking. I was like, you know what? That's true. But if you like what you see in this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us. Share this video, comment below, interact so we can get some feedback and incorporate that into what we talk about. Until then, we want you guys to grind smart, lead bold, and go beyond the grind.
Peace out.